Hello everyone, welcome to my cooking show. Today we're making eggs. We've got this pen, got the Q caps, vinegar. So today is my first ultrasound. I don't want to say it's my first ultrasound overall. Basically, what happened was my first ultrasound was my fertility check, where they counted the number of follicles that I had. Now, when you go in to get your fertility checked, because I've talked about what do you do if you get your fertility check, what does that mean? They do two things. They give you an ultrasound where they count the number of follicles that you have, and then they do blood work to test something known as your AMH level. It's kind of like a blood work marker that gives a general idea of how many eggs you have in your reserve. Now we can get into the biology of those things, but for people who aren't aware, the general gist of your process, right, is that you know the photo of kind of a woman's reproductive system, her uterus and everything. It's like that little thing like that. You've got your uterus and you've got your two ovaries. And the gist of your cycle is that we almost start at the end of the egg retrieving process when we talk about it in something like health class, which is a lot of people remember that egg going up, from your ovary and into your uterus, and then you either get pregnant or you don't. If you don't, then your uterine lining sheds and that's your period and you kind of start all over again. But that beginning part, how that egg gets in, is almost the end of what would be that egg freezing or IVF process. And so what happens is that you have everyone is born, well, not everyone, but if if you can get pregnant, you are born with all the eggs you will ever have. So if you're a baby, so babies are born with all of their egg cells. It is the only cells, aside from a handful of neurons, that you keep for your entire life. All your other cells turn over. Your blood turns over every 120 days, like everything else turns over. And we're born with millions of them. And so what happens is that each month you have follicles and you generate a decent amount of follicles. Everyone has a different number, and that depends on your age and your biology. And each follicle draws eggs from that reserve, and each follicle matures those eggs. They kind of like draw from the reserve, and then kind of just the wonder of our biology, your body kind of comparison shops.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you exit, please be careful of the gap between the platform and the train.
And it picks the best egg, or what it thinks is the best egg, from all of those follicles. And that's the egg that gets picked up by your ovary and goes in. In the egg freezing process, we are really growing those follicles. So you take a follicle stimulator, which is this guy, and it's also partially these guys. I'll get to these in a minute. But you take a follicle stimulator, and it really tries to grow those follicles, both encourage them to be as numerous as they can be for your level. You can't like just magically develop a bunch more, but you want those follicles to be as robust as they can be, and you want them to be maturing and drawing from eggs in as healthy and as robust a way as possible. And so that's what these help do. These also help stimulate your follicles, but they also help in the egg maturation process. So this is gonal F, and this is menopur. There are different parts of this cycle, and so there are different drugs that I will be taking later on that do different things. But for the first couple of days, this is all follicle and egg development. So that's what these shots do. Actually, a lot of you all have been telling me to ice these shots. We're gonna do blueberries today. So take 1 package of frozen blueberries and you're gonna stick this here, try to ice the area. There you go. Yesterday, overall, the first couple days of shots were totally fine. But yesterday they started to hurt a little extra. So we're gonna go in and stick some frozen blueberries there. Okay, anyways, so this one burns. And so I've heard that if you mix it first and let it sit for a little bit, it helps the burn. And so we're going to do that. And some of you have talked about the cost of these medications. Yes. And also the comparison shopping is wild. One pharmacy, when they ran my insurance, which doesn't cover anything, I've said this before, when they ran my insurance, they quoted me $7,000 for this medicine. And then when they didn't run my insurance, because I'm paying the full price for it anyway, it was $3,000. So it's like, so much of this is very inconsistent. And it just relies on people just kind of knowing or not. So anyways, today is the first ultrasound since I've been starting this process. And they are going to check on my follicle growth. So this first one is Menopur. And I leave that to marinate. And now we move to the gonal F. A lot of these medicines have to be refrigerated. The Menopur can be kept at room temperature because it's a powder, but the gonal F needs to stay in the fridge. Ooh, hold on, my blueberries are falling. This I have to select the dosage. There's a little window here. So no. Blueberries out. Thank you, Trader Joe's. The gonal F needs to go in at a 90-degree angle. I feel like these are getting spicier as the days go on. A lot of you have been asking me about side effects so far. Thankfully, they've been pretty minimal so far. However, the one thing I have noticed, I've talked about, like, I've started to experience some bloating, some tenderness, no mood issues quite yet. But the one that I notice is sleep. I don't know if it's just all of the travel and everything that I've been doing the first couple of days, but I have noticed that my sleep has been getting a little more, I have noticed that my sleep has been a little bit harder to come by the last couple of days. Last night, and again, it's been super hot in New York, so sometimes it's hard to tell what is the hormones and what's everything else. But last night, trying to sleep, it was very like hot, cold. And so I was up a little late last night. I'm a little worried because sleep is so important. And I don't want to hurt the development of this process, but you know, it is what it is right now. Ooh, it's spicy. All right, and that leaves me just enough time to head to the clinic for my first ultrasound. See how it went. This is also a lovely sharps container where I drop all this good stuff. Let's go to the clinic.